What are flags in YNAB? Well, they're an extra means of sorting or marking our transactions that exist outside of our budgeting categories. So today I'm going to first show you how to add a flag to a transaction, both on the desktop and in the mobile app, and then we'll talk through some of the reasons you might want to use flags. We're going to hop right in with YNAB on the desktop, my personal favorite. Now, functionally, flags in YNAB could not be simpler to use. Watch as I take 10 seconds to demonstrate. Start by pulling up your budget, find whatever transaction you want to add a flag to, go ahead and click the flag symbol, select your color, and that's all. Done. And if you want to remove the flag altogether, click the flag, click whatever color is selected, and you've removed your flag. Now I will show you on my phone as soon as I find my phone. Hello, phone. Now, adding a flag on the mobile app looks a little something like this. When you go in to add a new transaction, add the amount, payee, and category, and you'll find the flags right at the bottom. Select whichever one you want and click Save Transaction. And you'll follow the same process for changing a flag color or removing a flag. Now, flags can also be used for short-term purposes or for long-term purposes. Using a flag short-term means that you flag the transaction temporarily with plans to eventually remove the flag. I find that people often use flags short-term for budgeting accuracy or to track money movement. So naturally, using a flag long-term means that you flag that transaction and that flag stays there forever. People often use flags long-term to note certain trends in their budget or to create awareness for spending habits they didn't even know they had. So first, I'm going to share a few easy ways that you can use flags long-term, and then secondly, I'll share a few ways that people use flags short-term. The first way you might use flags long-term is to track trends in your budget. When they enter a transaction into their budget, if it was money well spent on a necessary or responsible purchase or payment, they'll mark it with a green flag indicating this was money well spent. On the flip side, if they're entering a transaction that was maybe impulse buying or an unnecessary buy, they'll mark it with a red flag saying, I didn't need to spend this money. Then, as they scroll through their budget, they can start to see the ratio of money well spent versus money they probably could have held on to. A really great tip for impulse buyers or people new to budgeting. A second way to use flags long-term is to track events in your budget. Let's say you're throwing a graduation party for your daughter or you're moving. Both of those events have lots of expenses and they may fall into many different categories. Maybe you paid for a moving truck, you paid to have internet installed at your new place, and you bought all your friends dinner for helping you move. So you mark all of those with a blue flag to indicate these were moving costs. That way, when you can't possibly fathom why your spouse would have spent $40 at the donut shop, you can say, oh, blue flag, moving, got it. Another way you might use flags long-term is to track reimbursement. So maybe they use a green flag to indicate I need to submit this expense for reimbursement, a blue flag to indicate I have submitted this for reimbursement, and a purple flag to indicate I have received the reimbursement. Everything is kept track of, you're on top of everything, nothing gets by you. Choose a flag color that indicates one-time purchases or out-of-the-ordinary purchases. For instance, you don't buy a car every day and that might make your budget look a little wonky for a bit. Maybe you flag that as a one-off purchase. Choose a flag color that indicates debt payments. Anytime you put money toward a debt, credit card, loan, mortgage, mark it with the same color flag so you can see at a glance how much and how often you're putting toward your debt. So now, let's look at how we can use flags as a short-term tool to help keep our budgets accurate and good to go. You may flag a transaction short-term if you are uncertain what category it belongs to. Say you're entering a transaction for your partner or a family member and you're not sure if it is miscellaneous or their fun money, so you throw on a flag saying, I'm gonna come back to this later. Another way you can use flags short-term in your budget is if you need to split a transaction but you don't have time to do it right now. Mark it with a flag that indicates to you, you need to come back and split this later. And lastly, you can also use flags to indicate an uncleared check in the budget. As soon as the check clears the bank, remove the flag and wipe the sweat from your brow. 'cause it's all good. Flags can be so handy, they're like the post-it note of your budget. And if you haven't used flags in your YNAB budget before, now is the time. And as always, if you're a flag expert yourself and have a few tips for how flags have changed your budgeting game, make sure to share your wisdom with all the other YNABers down below. Thank you for tuning in, and I will see you next week. Same time, same place, next week. I'm not typing anything. I gotta go.